Thank you so much. Bhai, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Shyam bhai.
How's it going in Seattle? All good?
All good, all good.
How's
Thank you,
Swamiji doing?
Smitaji. Yes, it's all good.
So, over to you, bhai.
It's
Let's start.
always different experience altogether to be around Swamiji all the time,
I'm
right?
sure
So
it
you
is
can
a
imagine. Yes,
very
yes, yes.
blissful feeling, I'm sure.
Yes, it is for sure. All right. Thank you, Smitaji and Harishi for a wonderful session, like always. Radhe Radhe, a very warm welcome. Again to Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. We are having a very interesting discussion, getting to know ourselves, getting to know the mechanics of our mind, what happens, how does it happen, what contributes to that, and that is where we'll continue to go a little deeper into that discussion, and it is going to get more and more interesting as we progress. With that said, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and we will get underway by invoking the blessings of God and Guru. I hope my internet is stable so far and stays the same way as well.
Yeah, it's good. Okay. Perfect so far.
If you hear occasional noises in between, please tolerate it. That's all I can say. Okay, so let's get started. Let's invoke the blessing of God and Guru to get started. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Okay, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your day. So let's get started. We were on verse 3.42, where we started with the shloka, and then we started going deeper into it, and that's where I've introduced another shloka, which is very, very relatable and in context with what we are going to discuss. So let me quickly recite it, and then we move on to the next shloka, where we can pick up a few hands who can take turns. We have a hard stop, so we'll have to pace it accordingly. Okay. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya param manah manasastu para buddhi yo buddhe paratastu saha. In this shloka, we spoke about the different hierarchies, which is the senses are superior to the gross body, superior to the senses is the mind, beyond the mind is the intellect, and even beyond the intellect is the soul. That is the hierarchy Lord Krishna had given. Let's move on. This is a shloka, taken a back gear again on this one. So in this shloka, let's see what Lord Krishna is talking about. He's saying, Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam tayapahrit chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadho na vidhiyate. We can take a few hands to recite this shloka and then we'll get started.
Sandhya, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya.
Radhe Radhe. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam taya paharita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhau na vidhiyate.
Nice Sandhya. Radhe Radhe. Not applicable.
It's not applicable. Not applicable shall recite, I guess. So go ahead, please.
Radhe Radhe. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam tayapahruta chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhau na vidhiyate. Radhe Radhe.
Not applicable. All right, let's take maybe 3 more hands and then we get started.
Rahul bhai, Radhe Radhe.
Other Rahul.
भोगेश्वर प्रसक्तानां दया परिचेतसां व्यवसायित्मिका बुद्धिः समाधो न विधीयते. राधे राधे.
Very nice, Rahul. Thank you. Okay. Maybe
Priya
couple
ji,
more
Radhe
hands.
Radhe.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
भोगैश्वर्यप्रसक्तानां तयापहृतचेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते.
All right, we'll take two more
Radhe
hands
Radhe.
and freeze it then. Thank you. Thank you,
Ragi
dear.
ji, Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
भोग ऐश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां दयापहृत चेतसां व्यवसाये आत्मिका बुद्धि समाधो न विधीयते.
All right, thank you, Pragi ji. So, like we often do, we go back and forth to take some cross references to drive the discussion forward. Today, I picked up a shloka which is going to talk about the concept that we're going to discuss today. We've been talking about mind and intellect, and it is a very important shloka where Lord Krishna is referring to something called Vyavsayatmika Buddhi. So let's see what he says. He's saying, with their minds deeply attached to the worldly pleasures and their intellects bewildered by such things, they are unable to possess the resolute determination for success on the path to God. Okay. So let's get underway. So the battle between mind and intellect, what we are talking about here. So here you see two wrestlers. Do you see that? Two wrestlers. There's a tug of war that is going on. This battle takes place inside our head, mind, antakaran, all the times. And who are these two wrestlers? And why does the bigger wrestler lose to the smaller wrestler often? Okay, that is what we're going to talk about today. So let's get started. Yesterday we spoke about mind. We said that mind is actually colloquially also known as ethereal heart or antakaran, and it has four parts to it: the manas, the intellect, man, buddhi, chit, and ahankar. Okay, these are the four parts. Then we also said that if you come across these terms, let's not get confused. They are all referring to antakaran only. Okay, so just man, if you say just man, it covers everything. However, in some darshans, like in Bhagavad Gita, man and buddhi both have been spoken about. Buddhi yoga, especially when God is talking about harnessing that power, arm your intellect with right knowledge, and that's how you should approach the science of work. Then man buddhi ahankar, man buddhi chit ahankar, but they're all the same. Okay. Then we also spoke about this hierarchy that we established yesterday, that body senses are superior to body, and mind is superior to senses, intellect is superior to mind, and so of course our own identity is superior most to all. And it's important to understand this hierarchy so that we can exert the dominion as needed to suppress the lower nature that we have, is born out of sense gratification. And that is what we are going to carry forward in our discussion today. Now, we spoke about this story, right? This something which seems impossible for somebody, right? Because of the state that person is in, he was able to attach immediate detachment and control over the mind. As soon as the intellect understood it is not good for it, immediately that happened. Yeah, that's a very powerful story that Swamiji talks about. Now let's move on. Let's introduce a child. Okay. It's a stubborn child. And you know what this stubborn child says? This child says, I want what I want, when I want, the way I want, the way I want it, and want it now. If you have to deal with such kind of a child, what will you do? My Shyamji has already started smiling. If you deal with such kind of a child, what will you do? Anybody, real quick? So we deal with this child all the times. Okay. And this child is none other than, it's, by the way, the statement is from Sigmund Freud, that id, idea aspect of it is something that he refers to it as, it's nothing none other than our own mind. Okay, this is how it works. I want what I want, when I want, the way I want, and want it now. Okay, this stubborn child is our mind that we have to deal with throughout the course of our life, throughout every moment. Okay, this is the your supposed friend which will come out, and this is how it works. It's very obstinate and very stubborn in that sense. So now that I've introduced our friend, let's move on. And this is the battle that takes place. You know, these are the wrestlers. On one hand, you have heart, mind, and the other side you have intellect, the buddhi. And what is the battle that takes place? So mind says, you know, the intellect, the one that is on top, it says, okay, it gives that thumbs up to something, that go ahead and proceed with it. Okay, good for you. And then the way it works is because of the hierarchy, obey. The mind will simply obey it. Okay, this is how it works. And what does the intellect has? Intellect has all the things that it cares for. You know, it could have house, the position, the job, the aspiration, the home, the gulab jamun, and everything. Okay, this is what is in our mind all the times. The sense objects, so to say, if I were to simplify this whole thing, the vishay of senses is what resides in our mind. That is what mind dwells upon. Okay, so this is taken up by our mind. However, we have still not solved the problem or the equation. Why would, you know, these kind of things, contemplation on it, make it stronger, right? Why is it able to overpower the intellect? So that is something we need to think seriously about and reflect upon it, because it's a story that unfolds quietly in our head, quietly, very quietly, it will unfold in your head, and we just have to deal with it. So this is how it goes. This is our mind. It is also called monkey mind. You see this monkey? Why it's called monkey mind is what we'll see that. It has only two objectives in life. This monkey has only two objectives in life. There is no third objective it has. What are those two objectives? Now, this is where you would need to introspect and say, you know, what kind of makes sense, because been there, done it, experienced it. Two objectives. The first objective that the mind has, maximize pleasure and minimize pain. Okay, both can go hand in hand. Anybody who disagrees with that? This is what mind says. It wants to maximize its pleasure and it minimize its pain. Right now, you are sitting here because you are getting some kind of a pleasure, right? And now if I keep on speaking for next 2 hours, you'll say enough of it. Who's going to listen to this, right? Because now you will do reverse thing. But the idea is to maximize pleasure and to minimize pain. So this is what the mind says. And this pleasure could come in any form, right? It could be time pass, chill out, could be a coffee, could be meeting somebody, catching up with somebody over a phone, stuff like that, right? Minimize pain, basically, you know, pain in form of boredom or somebody whom you don't like. So basically hankering and aversion in other form. That's what our mind craves for. Okay. That is the first objective our mind has. Okay, it's a very clear-cut job description mind has come with. I just need to maximize my pleasure from wherever I can get it and minimize my pain. Okay, it's a very simple, very simplified thing. There's another objective it has. Okay, it's a pretty interesting one. The other objective is, so maximize, minimize, you can understand, that's fine. Other objective is novelty bias it has. Novelty, it likes new things. Variety is the spice of life. Brahmaji has created so many species, right? He also likes variety. So similarly, our mind likes variety too. It keeps flitting over, you know, like butterflies flit over other things. Mind likes to do that. On an average, a person, I think that there's a statistic around 566 times they switch their screens. Regular person. But if you are an Insta freak or Facebook freak, I don't know how many times you would do that. And you just have to scroll it. A lot of variety it will give you. Tuck, 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 tuck. You can do that, and mind likes that. Novelty bias. You get bored, monotonous, right? That is why for you know, for everything you need to be creative or create something new, novelty, bring in novelty, mix it up, and all that stuff. Because mind gets bored. It says, I need something different. So it has a novelty bias. Why? There is a reason for that. Okay, there's a chemical locha that happens in our mind, like they said, Munna Bhai MBBS. It gets dopamine kick. Okay, this dopamine is what triggers, gives us an incentive to the mind that, okay, get something new, get something new, get something new, get something. But the wonderful, or not wonderful, I should say, but the interesting thing with this thing called dopamine is that when you get a dopamine kick doing something, unless you are bringing in novelty or making it bigger, to produce the same level of dopamine, you need something more for that. Otherwise, it will say that, you know what, the kick that I got previously, I need bigger and better of that, or something new to get the same level of kick. And eventually it leads to addiction. Like any drug, dopamine kick also leads to addiction. Interestingly, when we went out, even if it's anger, resentment, still we are getting some kind of a pleasure out of it. That is also dopamine kick. It's kind of a drug we are giving ourselves and building a gradual addiction towards it. So this dopamine kick is something which our mind feeds on. It's its staple food. Mind says, I just need dopamine kick, give me from somewhere. So as kids, of course, they don't have, because their intellectual abilities have not developed as yet. I think your prefrontal cortex, which is the muscle which helps you develop willpower, it's not very thick for kids. Okay. Some people, kids who are specially endowed with it, may have a little bit of it, relatively more than somebody else. But it is not developed initially. So what kids do, they keep on throwing tantrums. I need this, I need that, I need this. Okay, I'm getting bored, this, that. But as adults, we continue to be kids in a sophisticated way. Okay, there's no difference because our mind is still asking for those things and we are doing it in our own ways. Okay, maybe not the same toys or same games that interest you, but we find our new games as we keep on progressing, because to get the dopamine kick that we have gotten habituated to right when we came, right from the word go, when we came in this world. So this dopamine kick is something that is driving us. Now, having said that, our mind is a frequent visitor to the things and objects it's most attached to. Okay, that is how our mind works. That you're attached to, it's a frequent visitor. You will find a way. You will find a way to go surf that particular website, surf that particular handle, call that particular person, and end up making a justification around that it is needed. Okay, whether it's related to work or something, but the mind it has to visit things and objects it is most attached to. That is how it works, because it gets derives some kind of a kick out of it. So you would say, what is the problem here? Okay, I like something, I'm attached to something, I'm not doing anybody's harm, I'm not hurting anybody, I'm not committing a crime. What's the problem here? So let's try to understand it. Okay, where's the problem here? The problem is you may not be committing a crime for somebody else, but you may be doing a lot of harm to yourself, is what scriptures are telling. Why? Because this dopamine kick that we get is dependent upon something external. You need somebody external to derive that kick. You have not taken control over generating a much superior kick that spirituality is talking. You have not tapped into that fountain as yet. You need an external object or a stimuli for you to feel good about yourself or feel that kick. But let's go a little more deeper. Now, what are those things is what we would try to make sense out of it as well. So I'll put intellect and mind on either side. So intellect, it's like, okay, you attended some kind of a seminar or met somebody who's a health freak, or read a book, or came across an article, or watched something on the channel, or maybe had a good conversation with a friend and decided that I'm going to have, what I'm going to have? Avocado, carrots, cauliflower, in dinner. I need to take care of my health now. Health is wealth. So somewhere something clicked and you said, I'm going to have this. All right. This is where you decide something. New Year resolutions happen like that. Okay. It started like that. Now come Jan 1st or Jan 2nd, you see a French fries and a burger. Okay. French fries and a burger, and you are feeling hungry. By the way, it tells me a story. There was a friend, American friend of mine, when I was doing my master's here. He went to India and China, so he saw so much of animal slaughter and stuff like that, that he lost interest in eating beef. He said, no more killing of animals and stuff like that. I cannot take it anymore. And he did not turn vegetarian. He turned vegan, the other extreme completely. And he continued to be vegan. And then one of our outings, we went, and he was having a steak on his thing. And I said, what happened? You were supposed to be vegan. He said, yeah, I was vegan for about 6-7 months. And then I said, what happened? He said, and then one day I felt hungry. I said, that's a good reason for you to restart. He just felt hungry one day. So the point here is, then what happens? Your mind says, okay, this burger and fries, they look much more appealing. And who's going to have this cauliflower? Now, what is going to happen? But your intellect is saying, no, I took a resolution. I know it's, I need to work on my health, and I want to feel better, lighter when I wake up in the morning. So this is something I took a resolution. Your intellect is kicking, but mind says, no, go for it. It's okay. Once in a while, it's okay. And friends will say, come on, once in a while is okay. Take it easy. All that stuff has happened. So what happens is basically a slugfest starts. This battle, the gloves are on between mind and intellect. And then finally, this guy goes with burger. So is it a good? He goes with burger and overrides his intellect at that point. More often than not, this happens. Okay. Now, why did it happen basically? Our scriptures say, Maharaj Ji has said in Sadhana Karu Pyare, Man ko manu shatru, uski suno hui jani kachu pyare. Dear one, consider the impure mind to be your enemy. Do not listen to its whims. Mind will do that. Always it will do that. It will give you a reason and keep on finding justification for it. All right, it's just one time. From tomorrow, I'll do that. Or it's okay if we do it occasionally. Come on, all that stuff will happen. And that is how our mind basically goes. And intellect takes a beating. Now, if you look at it, the choice of having a burger, and then on the other side, cauliflower. In our scriptures say there is something called prayas, and there is something called shreyas. Okay, there are the two kind of pleasures our mind can go after. So when it comes to prayers, like in this case of burger, it is pleasurable. It is pleasurable. Of course, that's why our mind goes for it. Mind seeks pleasure. The first thing when I introduced mind was, I want this, I want it now, and I want it the way I want, and I just need what I need. This is how our mind goes, like a stubborn child. It is pleasurable. And when you go with shreyas, which is beneficial, so do you choose pleasure or do you choose benefit? Mind will say, go for pleasure. Of course, it doesn't have any reason to go the other way around. So typically, the battle between something which is pleasurable and something which is beneficial is won by pleasure only, more often than not. Okay, you can probably think and reflect back on it. How many temptations that we succumb to day in our day-to-day life. Now, if you have empowered your intellect, which we are going to get into some of those tools as well, maybe next session, that is a different story. That means you have matured. You have started maturing spiritually. You don't go for pleasurable stuff. You go for what is truly beneficial. But in a regular mundane battle that happens, unless some kind of a spiritual spark you have had, and you have given yourself a very strong why. It said when you have a very strong why, the how and what get aligned automatically. But when you don't have a very strong why or a very clear motive or a purpose in mind, then chalta hai attitude will there. Pleasure will always win over benefit. Your mind will bribe its way to intellect and trick it more often than not. That is how it goes. So how does it work? Sports, somebody may be hooked on to sports. You have golf videos, you have cricket videos also these days, right? When IPL is going on, you are pretty much on your own. Husbands are always glued to that part, right? Because your mind has gone after that pleasure. It's very difficult to resist that dopamine kick that happen. People who go for prestige, they can sacrifice life and relationships as well. If you have seen people who want to contest elections, how much sacrifice they put in, doing rallies and speaking to people and building connects and pretty much they can do anything to get that prestige that they think is the motive of life. If somebody goes after money, they can neglect family, health, and everything as well. We see how it can manifest actually. And then we can have infatuation with objects. It could be material objects, gadgets, the new house, the next electric car, and then people, of course, right, whom you find pleasurable talking to for the sake of it, right? Where you are willing to sacrifice knowledge and higher nature that you have an opportunity to tap into. That is how our mind's whims play. Okay, if you are not careful about it, before you realize, you would have already been sucked into it. Okay, and it comes at a price. So the point here to be noted is, when we cater to the dopamine kick of our mind, because it is finding it pleasurable in short run, are you willing to pay the price for it? Okay, the back of the mind, nothing comes free in life. So always think about, are you willing to pay the price tag? And nothing, what you are doing, you may think it's innocuous, harmless. No, nothing is. You are building mental channels, those grooves that we talk about, those sanskars. You might be getting attached to that particular object. Then it will become an object of desire. And then it will, follow the same cycle. Desire will get fulfilled. You'll get into greed. It will not get fulfilled. You'll get into anger, right? So that cycle keeps on repeating. So nothing comes free of cost. Any activity, every thought, every action that we perform in our life comes with a price tag. And spiritual maturity or wisdom is to understand that price tag. More often than not, the mind will play it down. Arey, nothing is going to happen. But if we really start thinking about the price tag, then you are taking an informed decision that, okay, I'm willing to pay the price tag. It's my decision. Then it's a different thing. Okay. Now that price tag, again, it has to be born out of proper understanding, not because your mind is you're just playing to the whims of your mind. Is it something which is purely pleasurable, or is it something which is truly beneficial is the key here. Now, moving on, let's have a graph here and have a bit of a discussion on it. Okay, so here is the power of your intellect against your mind, of course, right? So hope you liked it. You know where the intellect is, right? Muscles it is trying to build. And on the other side, we have Shreyas and Preyas. On Shreyas, I have put, okay. So when we exercise Shreyas, we are increasing the strength of our intellect, okay? By delayed gratification, by taking on that austerity, by taming our mind. It is like that gooseberry. It is a superfood, Indian superfood, which has vitamin C equivalent to, I think, 10 oranges with a lot of antioxidants. And I think you can give a good immunity boost to your. So it is said, Bado ka kaha aur amle ka swad, which is gooseberry. Thode samay ke baad, that means, what older people or wise people tell you, and how this gooseberry tastes, there is a similarity between those, because it is bitter initially, and if you survive that initial bitterness, it starts tasting sweet afterwards. So Shreyas, happiness, is the gooseberry thing, and Preyas is something where you are decreasing the strength of your intellect. You are empowering your mind. Okay, you are letting your mind take control of. You are getting addicted to dopamine kick, and you are decreasing it. Okay. Now the key thing here is, this is the resolve you have to make. In this case, in case of Preyas, you say, we'll do it since it is pleasurable. Very simple argument. Mind will present, I'll do it because it's pleasurable. You don't think beyond that. Okay, that is called being a spiritual baby. In Shreyas, you say it is pleasurable, I will still not do it. Okay, that is the resolve you make. Then in Preyas, you say, I will embrace this inferior activity because it is pleasurable. That's what mind will tell you. And that's what we do. In this case, it will say, I will abstain from it, inferior activity, although it is pleasurable. There is a paradigm shift in both. Right? When we perform austerity, go to do muscles and do treadmill and stuff like that, it is an austerity that we are undertaking, but we know the benefits of it. That is a Preyas. Here you are delaying it. But when you go for immediate pleasure, I want it now kind of a deal, that is something you are actually fueling your inferior nature and forfeiting an opportunity to elevate yourself spiritually and also strengthen the muscle of your intellect. the prefrontal cortex through which you can take decision. So the discerning ability, we are marginalizing it when we go for the praise kind of a inferior kind of a instant kind of a pleasure. That is how it goes. Now you say it's very difficult. I'll give some examples. Monday, who likes to go out to office on a Monday? Right? Monday blues. Anybody who likes to, Sam, do you like to go on Monday? Okay, good. You crossed it out. Anybody who likes here? Okay. But does it stop you from going to office? Thank God it's Friday. Yes, Lakshmiji, you enjoy Mondays? Kumarji, you have something interesting to add, I'm sure. So we can come back to you. My point is maybe, yes, Kumarji, go ahead.
Yeah, Jai Shri Ram. Yes, I just wanted to let you know that I look forward to Mondays for work.
Wonderful. So you have actually graduated towards the praise kind of a thing. It's all right. Or maybe it's no longer an austerity. You make your work play, then you will not have to work any one single day in life, right? It is said, maybe you reach that stage, even better. But the point is, majority of the people, they don't like Mondays, but that does not stop them from skipping office. That means a higher power has kicked in. Go to office. Okay, your boss will be waiting there, all that stuff. So that means we have a power to go against our natural tendency of our mind. So it's anti-gravity, what we do. Then anger flows downwards. See, that is a classic case. The director would scold the manager. The manager will scold the team lead. The team lead will scold the developer. The developer will come back home and scold the wife. The wife will scold the kid. The kid will scold the dog. And this is how the anger flows. Has anybody taken a leap on the other direction? I mean, in family, maybe you could have, but has anybody shouted back at their boss? Basically, Sam, you might have, I won't be surprised, but generally, it's very difficult to do that, right? Because you obey authority in that case. That means your intellect is already activated. It's predisposed to doing the right thing at that point. So that means we have a very strong ability to do that. It's just that we cater to our lower nature, because our mind is playing tricks and we are enjoying it as well, kind of a deal, right? So that is another example. Then you look at it, the exam focus, somebody who's completely scattered, throughout the year, they don't study. I used to have an annual system, I would not study, but 3 days before the exam, mind is just zoned in, right? The books, 10 books you can finish off in a couple of nights. And then your mind, even though it might be all over the place, right? You might be, and you would imagine that this person would be counting the check boxes on the roof because he's not able to focus. But no, those 3 hours, the person is able to completely focus. What happened? The intellect has decided this is make and break time for you. Okay. So we are very smart. We pull in our intellect when the sword is hanging on our head. But other than that, we say, mind, all right, I'll let you rule. So that choice is something we don't exercise often. We do have that. Yes, Lakshmiji, you wanted to add something? Please go ahead.
Yes, there's an initial inertia will be there, but once we cross it, I think you get a positive momentum to move to our office. So that shows we are having control on our intellect.
We do have. The bottom line is we do have complete control. Yeah.
Yes. And one more thing is, yes, the anger or the frustration in the house, I think it's better not to carry on to your working place. And that control is very much important because that disturbs our whole day. So what I make that point that once I step out of the house, I forget everything at that level only. And I'll be fresh at my working place. So that usually a compliment I get from my colleagues. So I just want to say that once you get control of that, forgetting what all things has happened in the house and go fresh to your office, I think that makes a lot of difference. And don't get back the same thing, the office work frustration at the home.
True. So yes, Radhe. A great point. So I think one of the great abilities people who are very effective at their work and their relationships is the ability to compartmentalize their stuff. They don't carry office at home and they don't carry home at office. And when they are with somebody, they just with them only. It's a great ability. I see Swamiji, he's laughing at every kind of jokes, whether you like it or not. With kids, he's just a kid. He's right there in that moment. Okay, that moment he's not thinking, okay, I have a lecture to give, I need to prepare for Microsoft or that Amazon speech that is coming up, or have a university going on, or I have this book, that I'm writing. Absolutely is there in that moment. The amazing ability to compartmentalize and be there in that moment is a very great ability. Not everybody has that. We have a hangover, residual attention span from multiple things that we are doing. He has absolutely none of that. Like, he's there in that moment, spot on. Today, when we were driving, kind of running a little late. Traffic was there. He was solution oriented. I think we should change lane. Maybe we can do that, this, that. And he was pretty relaxed about this whole thing. And people around were panicking. So the thing, that is a great ability to have. But the point here is, I think the point we are trying to make here is our intellect has that big power, and we just need to tap into that, harness that power, because if we let our mind run, it will keep on making a feast on our lives, and we will be the biggest losers, because soul is forgotten to exert its dominion at all completely. The intellect, at least we have that faculty until we become situated in I, at least understand our true identity and operate from that knowledge all the times, which is of course an advanced stage. But till then, our intellect is the interface with the world, where if we have proper buddhi, wisdom, and knowledge that we can exert when we need it, I think we would have done ourselves a huge favor. And that knowledge has to be backed on a strong foundation, right? And that strong foundation means we need a lot of contemplation. There's a 3-step process, right? Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasan, and tapping into the right knowledge. And right knowledge, the 3 filter test we have already spoken about. Maybe we'll revise all those kind of concepts again. Something which Shastra says, scripture say, something which sadhu say, sage say, something that your guru says, realized saint says. If it passes those 3 tests, it's a very, very good knowledge, bona fide knowledge that you can directly tap into, rather than putting your kintu parantu and your own buddhi around it. Having said that, I'll come back to you, Preeti ji. Tomorrow I'm going to touch upon this topic. This lady, she was dreaming and she dreamt a ghost. Okay, a ghost in her dream. And then on one of the dreams, it went too far. When it went too far, this ghost started chasing this lady until she went up to a cliff. And when she went up to a cliff, the ghost kept on chasing, and she slipped and barely hung on to that cliff. And then she confronted ghost. They both saw each other just like that. And this lady asked the ghost, "What are you going to do with me now?" And ghost said, "Okay, it's your dream. You decide what should I do with you." Okay. So we'll talk about this concept tomorrow. Okay. This is our own dream that we have cooked up, and we dictate that ghost. We'll talk about this concept tomorrow, where we talk about the power of subconscious, because intellect part of it, how can we actually program it, tune it, is something well within our hands. We don't know how we are programming it every moment. So we'll talk about that concept. Okay. Arming our intellect, we spoke about broader concept, Nididhyasan, get the right knowledge. There's a lot of stuff at a micro level that we need to get into a nitty-gritty of it. And you'll be surprised to know so much things are going on inside our body and we have absolutely no idea. Okay, and that's something we are going to tap into tomorrow to take this discussion forward. Any questions on what we have spoken about today?
Preeti ji, please go ahead. Radhe
Yes.
Radhe.
Yes, Preeti ji. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. What if you want to do Shreya, but your mind keeps doing prayers, even though you know what is the right thing to do? For me, it's like my subconscious is so programmed to eat. Like unconsciously, I eat, even though consciously I try not to eat, but then I give up, and then I try my best, and then I give up. And I have this battle going on many things, and people call it ADHD because my frontal lobe is not as strong in focusing than some other people.
Yeah,
So
we'll talk
what
about
do I
the
do about
framework
that?
tomorrow. We'll talk about a framework tomorrow that you can employ to do that. There's a doctor, I think, Dr. Weiss. He does a lot of, he taps into the subconscious and other things as well, even life regressions to cure certain people. Typically, there is a reason for the tendencies that we carry, right? If we have been subject to a lot of starving in the past, maybe in some other lifetime, we build a tendency to stop ourselves up always. Some people they get scared in a lift, they have claustrophobia, right? And then all of us have allodoxophobia, fear of people. What are they going to say? That is coming from all the lifetimes because we give a lot of importance to people around. So different people have different phobias, and these phobias, they come from, part of it comes from our conscious mind based on the experiences we have had in this life. Majority of it comes from our subconscious mind. And we can systematically program it, tackle it, but knowledge is the only way to beat that, Preeti ji. There is no magic wand. There's no magic pill, so to say, because we only have to put in the effort with the proper knowledge. And that once the why is clear, it can easily win over what and how part of it. So that why has to be sorted out. We can give ourselves enough reasons and create a framework around it, so until it becomes part of our DNA. So that's the only way. We need to really take that contemplation to the next level, and until it becomes part of our DNA. So we'll talk about some of the tools tomorrow on that, maybe a framework to beat some kind of a habit that we are struggling with. So there's a beautiful framework Swamiji has provided. I'll try to bring it to the session. That way we can have a more nuanced discussion around this topic. Okay. Let's make a quadrant, what you're struggling with, and how we can systematically dismantle that habit. We will employ the same framework around it. So, all right. Yes, Sam, you had a question? The question needs to be a question that takes the discussion forward. Okay.
Yes. You were saying that Swamiji could compartmentalize the things and be present where he, to the work at hand, to the people at hand, be attentive. All this you're saying, right? I am very expert in bringing frustration and problems from a different place to a different place. So how to compartmentalize and master this art?
So,
Like
that's a good question. So you are like this only, okay? The lady who's sleeping. You have created your ghost, and you are writing that ghost, the script for that ghost every day. Okay, how you want to have that script is something completely in your hand. Okay, and Swamiji would have worked on himself because he believed in this knowledge. Most of us, we don't believe in this knowledge. Right? Somebody asked Swamiji, what got you to this path? He said, I simply believed in this knowledge. He believed in this knowledge. Is there anything else that is needed? When you believe, when you truly understand, if I ask you, hey, can you go and prick yourself? Will you do that? Question,
no.
simple. I tell you, Sam, can you drink this? It's kind of something that will, kind of a slow poison for you. It will probably knock you off in 5 hours. Can you please keep taking a sip of it? Will you do that?
I think I'll take, Nitinji.
Okay.
If it gives me a dopamine kick, I'll take.
Okay. Even at the expense of your life, if you're willing to take that, then that's your choice you're making, right? Maybe that's what you want in that case. But if then this question itself is addressed, right? Why this question? If you're already taking it, you're enjoying it, then there's no point, right? But if you think you're struggling, if you think you're struggling with something, that means you need to truly believe in the knowledge of scriptures and what your guru is telling you. And when you truly believe, you try to align to that principle and exert yourself. And slowly and gradually, you will come out of that as well. This is how it works. Very simple. Right? We have an ability to change our prarabdha, right? Not change our prarabdha, but future prarabdha. Every moment, and we have an ability to change basically our sanskars every moment because of our free will. So tamasic to rajasic to sattvic to nirguna, that choice is always there with us. So we'll go more, and then the power of programming our thought process. It is a huge power. We all continue to talk to ourselves See, there is a lot of emphasis in corporates about interpersonal communication, right? You've heard about that. There's so much of focus on that. And if you're not a good communicator, cannot communicate better with others, you will be a flop show in corporate life. Now, in spirituality, teaches us about intrapersonal communication. Okay, we'll talk about that. How do you talk to yourself? What do you tell yourself about yourself? Okay, and what is that chatter that you have no control over that is going on inside? We don't even know we are talking to ourselves. Do we know that? We don't know that. Sportsmen do that. A lot of people, they do that. Come on. Okay, that's a verbal thing. But quietly they are saying, calm down. You need to stay relaxed, because they understand the power of the self-talk. We don't understand it unless somebody tells us, right? And we have Swamiji who keeps on telling us about all these things. So we'll talk about some of this stuff where we are writing our destiny every moment, and we are creating our reality every moment as well. Okay, drishti badlo, srishti badle, there is a concept. And then if you truly believe in this knowledge, you will not prick yourself, right? It will hurt you. But because you don't believe in this knowledge, you are willing to hurt yourself and even to drink poison. Is that a problem with the knowledge? No, it is a problem. It is a deficiency in you in that case. Okay, that needs to be eradicated. That's how it goes. Yes, Urvi, you wanted to ask something?
Radhe Radhe. Actually, we were discussing about truly believing in the knowledge. So I just wanted to ask that, to believe, we just have to put in our efforts, right? Like I have to believe and think about it like that, and then we are graced, and ultimately we believe just like that. This is how it happens. I'm just asking.
Oh, it's a journey of faith, right? We spoke about this concept. It's a journey. Jane binu hoy na partiti, binu partiti na hoy priti, right? So basically, for anything, when you start off, you of course gain the knowledge around it. And then when you gain the knowledge around it, of course, you experiment like science. Right? You need to convert that knowledge into realization. You have to apply that knowledge. And then if it doesn't work for you, then reject it. But not even understanding knowledge, or even if you have understood knowledge, not applying it, what's the point? If you have learned all the recipes in the world by heart, but never cooked and tasted anything, what's the point? Similarly, with the knowledge, we need to apply it to realize the benefit around it. And little bit of knowledge is enough for us actually to make a progress. We don't need to know all the scriptures or anything. Whatever little bit we can get it that makes sense for us, let's apply that, and rest will automatically follow, is typically how it works.
I mean, okay, so it's like we just have to take up a piece of knowledge, and when we keep thinking on it and we try to apply it, but what I'm trying to say is when we try to apply it, we're not able to do it. But then ultimately something happens and we're able to do it within a few days. So that happens automatically.
So is there an example you want to share, Urvi? Yes. You try hard and it eventually happens for sure. But you are trying hard and you're getting credit for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can share some examples.
Sure.
Like, I always knew, right, that eating junk food is not good. In fact, my stomach used to hurt so badly that I was not even able to move. So I was in that zone, and still I used to eat it. And but I knew that it is not good for me and it will hurt me. But when I heard it from Swamiji, I repeated it again and again. This is agitation and this is not peace. This is not happiness. Leave it, leave it. And now I don't feel like eating junk food. And also, there was one thing I wanted to. I was not able to understand how to practice the presence of God while studying. So I was trying different things. Then ultimately, Sandhya Didi told me something, and somehow it worked for me. So it's happening automatically.
See, your efforts and sincerity has borne fruit, and this is how it's meant to be. Everybody can vouch for it. Whenever you have put your heart and soul to something that you want to do, results are bound to come. That is how this universe is designed. They will come in due course of time. And God and Guru are more than happy to grace you along the path. And it has to happen. There is no other way. And I'm glad you shared that experience. And see, but you were persistent enough, right? Because you believed in it and you continued to do that, and it happened after a while. And this is how it unfolds. Yes, Sam, you had another question, another realization you got?
Yeah, Urvi was telling, right? How to practice the presence of God while studying. While studying, we'll focus on the study. But yeah, how will that presence of God come be constant while doing work or studying? Yeah, I know the example they give is the child was sick and father goes to a doctor.
So
He will
you
give
try it
treatment.
out, and where you struggle, maybe then Urvi can chime in, but you first try it out, okay? If you have tried it out and then you have failed, and keep trying it out, and then
Yeah, I try every day, but
if
I'm not
in
understanding that
spirituality, if the dose doesn't work for you, you double it. If it double dose does not work for it, you quadruple it. Okay, there is no other plan B until it becomes synonymous with your identity. And Sunilji is going to answer your question now. Okay. Yes, Sunilji, Radhe Radhe. Yeah, let's
Okay.
limit the response to 2 to 3 minutes so that we can cover other things as well.
Got you. So what I think what Samji is asking is, Samji, I think it's not going to happen overnight. Like, there should be like devotion in like seclusion, Rup Dhyan, like every day 30-45 minutes. Continue that, and as you progress on, your devotion, whatever you do every day, that sinks in your subconscious. That attachment to Hari Guru sinks in your subconscious. And so when that becomes very, very strong, then even when you do other activities, your subconscious mind retains the affection and remember the Hari Guru. So it's not possible to consciously, like a conscious mind thinking 24/7 or on God. It's not possible, because when you do some outer activities, obviously your conscious mind has to be in there, right? So it's not that type of remembrance, unless when you reject every activity and just sit in meditation for 24 hours. Yeah, that's the time when you can do conscious thinking with conscious mind 24/7 and on God and Guru. But when you're engaged in other works, obviously a part of your conscious mind will be on your work, but your subconscious mind retains the affection of Hari Guru. So that can be done. Subconsciously you are feeling Hari Guru, but that will happen gradually as you progress through devotion. If you do regular devotion, increase it, and that's going to happen eventually. And somewhere I have read, at a very evolved stage, a part of your conscious mind will also retain the thinking of Hari Guru for a very long time. But that's like very evolved stage of maybe a Bhava Bhakti or something.
Thank you, Sunilji. Yes, so you practice, Sam. Without practice, no magic will here. Okay, it will happen in due course of time, and then this question will become a moot point, right? Not even for a moment we forget whether I'm a girl or who I am, or mother doesn't forget I am, right? So it's actually synonymous with your identity at that point. Okay, those are the advanced stages. So you got to persevere until then. Great. Okay, so please fill out the feedback tracker. So today we have a hard stop. We still have 7 minutes to go. Let's make the quick announcements that we need to. Again, I want to remind
we
you.
have some comments in the chat window.
Sure, you can read that.
Monica is asking, क्या बोला संध्या दीदी ने उर्वी को? उर्वी के लिए सवाल है ये. तो उर्वी आप I'm unmuting you.
Three of you can get into a call and reach a consensus on what worked around that.
In the meantime, Swamiji is starting with a new program which says मन प्रबंधन और वैदिक ज्ञान के विशेषज्ञ स्वामी जी के साथ देखिए सोच बदले जीवन बदले 4 मई से सुबह 6:30 at DD नेशनल. ये हम लोगों के लिए कि आप लोगों के लिए भी है? ये भारत में आता है. So 6:30 daily he is starting a new program.
Wonderful.
सोच बदले जीवन बदले. So we can all watch it live. And then Ajit ji is saying people are taking tobacco and alcohol even knowing it's going to harm them slowly. So still we take it. So that's the way it all works. Shreyas and prayers. And then I have posted the links
even before that, the tobacco and alcohol, if you think about it, when people have it for the first time, they don't like it. Is there anybody who said I first time had, I was like, I got some kind of a great bliss out of it? Nobody, but they persevered. So it's not the intrinsic quality of that object that you get hooked onto. It is an attachment over time you follow. You think it's cool, your friends do that, they enjoy. One day you will also enjoy, and you persevere. And when you persevere and keep on doing that, one day, of course, you develop taste for it and addiction to it as well. It is one of those things where we have to think, when repeatedly, when you think about something that it is going to give me happiness, your mind will form that hook. Why not form that hook with God then? That is the question. Right?
So
Just because
people do it for taste of addiction. What is the core behind it?
taste. Addiction is their intellect is convinced this thing will give me happiness.
But it doesn't give.
Very why they do it. Not the taste or anything. Taste, maybe they can acquire that taste over time, but it is that belief in the intellect. This thing will give me happiness. This thing is going to relax me, after a long day or a week, and chill and all that stuff. So that value system is a little messed up. That's what gets us hooked onto these things. Right?
Got it. And
All right.
so
please fill out the feedback tracker. And I wanted to remind one more thing, that we are going to start our sessions from Monday to Friday India time. That would mean Sunday evening. Instead of Friday evening, it is going to be Sunday evening going forward. Okay. That will free up our Friday and Saturday. I think it will work for most of you. And if it doesn't, you'll get used to it.
So you mean to say, if for Indians, it is from Monday to Friday?
Yes. From next week.
Okay.
This Monday is already gone, Shyamji, so we can't do anything about it.
That, I guess, makes sense for us.
Yeah, it'll work for me as well. Just optimizing the time to free up the Fridays, and I think because Fridays people like to do potluck, so it'll make out time for that as well. Okay, yes, Sandhya, you had a question. Ajit ji wanted to ask something as well. Yes, Sandhya, go ahead in the meantime.
Radhe Radhe, not a question, just wanted to say one thing that you just pointed out, right? The power of association. So with respect to building this value system, that also plays a very, very important role. And I just wanted to actually bring out an example. I started developing taste for a healthy thing, which is avocados, due to your association. So, that is what I wanted to basically bring, that association plays a big role for building our value system. Yeah.
Avocados, yeah, I find it very good in sandwiches. True. See, our biggest influence in our life is our association. So that is why it said that we choose those 5 people very wisely. The person whom you're talking to over the phone or Skype or WhatsApp, and the person whom you're interacting with, those 4 or 5 association, and the quality of talk, of course, those will have definite bearing on our personality and our spiritual trajectory as well. So we got to be very careful about it. And tomorrow, when we get into the subconscious part of it, you'll understand, we just don't even know. It's like a tip of an iceberg. We don't even know about ourselves. There is so much. It's such a sophisticated machinery and instrument that God has given us. And so many things are happening, and we are letting it happen to us. We have not taken control as yet, right? Soul is asleep. But even before we get to the realization we are a soul, there is still so much we can do, just by exercising the power of our intellect, which is essentially what Buddhi Yoga is in Bhagavad Gita. And there's just so much things happening in our body. This sophisticated machinery that we have, it's mind-blowing. And the more we start taking control over it and making those small steps towards our eternal welfare, the better off we will be. The problem is, every day we are digging a pit for ourselves, knowingly or unknowingly. And that is the biggest tragedy of human life, especially if you don't get exposure to the right knowledge and right people at the right time. So all right, with that said, any other last 1 minute, 2 minute, last couple of minutes, anybody wanted to say anything or share anything? So we've spoken about mind. Next time you speak about mind, remember this child. Okay, you're dealing with this child all the times. And then the Shreyas praise that we have spoken about, the slugfest that happens, you can remember this monkey also. Okay, if you didn't like that stubborn child title, this might be a little more flattering for you. So understand, there are only 2 objectives this monkey has. I need something new, and I want to have more pleasure and less pain. That's all it, and it doesn't care whether it is beneficial or only pleasure is what it seeks, nothing else. Dopamine kick is all I care for, nothing else. All right. So with that said, 1 more minute, Dasohamji, please, real quick, 60 seconds we have. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Great rest of your evening, and please fill out the feedback tracker as well. Yes, Dasohamji.
Radhe everyone. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. We have 1 minute. Okay, Radhe Radhe was all that was supposed to be said today. So over to you, Ajay Bhai and Sunil Bhai. Dasoham ji, please fill out the feedback tracker. We will continue Radhe Radhe Sham se Milade conversation.
Thank you,
tomorrow.
Nitin bhai. Thank
Thank
you, everyone. Thank you, Shyam ji. Thank you, Nitin. Thank you, Sandhya. Thank you, Rahul ji. If we